Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Friday, July 8th, and I'm very happy to welcome Ricardo Lamas, top 3 featherweight in the world, to help us take a look at the main card of UFC 200. And of course, Ricardo Lamas will be able to hopefully give us some unique insights into the Jose Aldo fight, because Lamas, of course, had a big fight with Jose Aldo at UFC 169. Ricardo Lamas, thanks for being with us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, you have a very unique perspective on these fights, because some of them you've actually been in the octagon with. And the Jose Aldo fight, let's start with that one, because this fight against Frankie Edgar is one that most people, I haven't heard any strong opinions. Most people are of the opinion that there's not any clear betting value to be had, that both these fighters are evenly matched. The odds reflect that, and that it'll be a good fight from a fan perspective, but from a betting perspective, it's probably worth a pass. Aldo right now is about plus 100 even money. Edgar, the very slight favorite, but you were in the ring, in the octagon with Jose Aldo at UFC 169. What's your prediction for this fight?
I think a lot of it depends on how Jose Aldo comes back off a loss. We haven't seen him come off a loss in over 10 years. So when someone becomes champion and is winning so much and is so dominant in the sport, it could really ruin them mentally.
Sure.
Especially with the way he took the loss. It was a hard knockout early on in the fight. It could either make him trigger shy, or it could maybe light that fire that he needed to get back to the old Jose Aldo when he first came out on the scene. So I think this fight is really going to depend on how Jose Aldo is mentally.
Yeah, I mean, the big issue for debate here is how that knockout affects him. Now, from my perspective, I look at that fight against McGregor, and, maybe McGregor should have been the favorite. Maybe McGregor would have won anyway. But anytime there's a 13-second knockout like that, it's pretty much fluky, right? I mean, no one's skills were really tested in that. He did suffer a concussion, though, and mentally, psychologically, what are the effects? I'm not exactly sure. What's your sense as a top-ranked featherweight? What would your best guess be as far as how that knockout as a factor alone affects Aldo here?
Like I said earlier, it could make him a little hesitant to engage in this fight. So he may be a little passive. But if it kind of woke up that inner beast in him and gets him back to the old Jose Aldo, I think we could see a great fight from him.
All right. So do you have any sense, any soft prediction as far as to who's going to win the fight, or are you as clueless as the rest of us?
If I had to put money on it, I would probably put on Jose Aldo, considering he won the first match between the two. He doesn't make very many mistakes. He's very hard to take down. If you do take him down, he pops right back up. But not taking anything away from Frankie Edgar, he's been looking fantastic in his past few fights.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why this fight is so hard to handicap, because both fighters look so strong overall. Not to take anything away from either of them, you really can't. I would tend to agree with you, though. My lean on this one would be to Jose Aldo, but I don't think it's strong enough for me to want to actually bet it. And now let's just talk about the Anderson Silva and Daniel Cormier fight. Anderson Silva, here's a quote from him. He says, "I haven't trained in a few months, but I think I'm in good condition to go in there and put on a good fight." I mean, if you hadn't trained for a few months, would you be in good condition to go in there and put on a good fight? Do you think that's just a bluster from Silva, or do you think he really, the fact that he claims that he hasn't trained in a few months doesn't really matter?
I think that could be a huge factor in a fight. If it only takes the human body a few weeks to kind of fall out of shape. So a few months of not training could affect him very much in this fight. Especially against a hard-nosed wrestler like Daniel Cormier. Wrestlers will take you into deep water and they'll grind you out, and it's very tiring trying to fight a wrestler.
Yeah, I mean, and especially when you're 41 years old, as Anderson Silva is. So do you think? I mean, he's a big underdog here. It's kind of strange that he took this fight, but the reports are that he called Dana White and asked for the fight. So it's not like the UFC was begging Silva to take this fight. Do you feel like he's probably going to lose? And if so, why do you think he would take this fight, or why do you think he would pursue it?
Coming off taking a short notice fight. For that fighter, there's not much risk. Everybody's already expecting you pretty much to lose. So there's no pressure on him.
Right.
It's a huge card, the biggest one in UFC history. So everybody wants to be a part of it. I'm sure the money doesn't hurt either. So I think that's kind of why he took the fight. And, Anderson Silva is always a dangerous fighter. He has very dynamic striking.
Yeah.
He can knock you out from any angle. So I wouldn't count him out either, but like I said, if I have to put money on this fight, I'm putting it on Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, that's what I would think as well. And then let's just talk about the Brock Lesnar fight, which also, where conditioning and training is a big X factor here as well. Of course, Lesnar's been in the WWE recently, and whatever his training regimen has been, it can't be as tough as it would be for a standard guy expecting to be a top fighter in the UFC. Do you think that Lesnar is going to come in here ready to compete with Mark Hunt, or do you think that having been in the professional wrestling arena for the past bunch of fights is going to hurt him big time, and he just won't be on the same level as Mark Hunt?
I think Lesnar's one chance is to go in that first round, take Mark Hunt down, and either finish by ground and pound or submission. Yeah. If Mark Hunt is able to fend off those first few takedowns and land some strikes, I've seen in some of Lesnar's past fights, it doesn't seem like he likes getting hit in the face. And fighting a guy like Mark Hunt is not the right guy to fight if you don't like getting punched in the face.
Exactly.
He's very heavy-handed, and he can knock you out with one punch. So if Lesnar doesn't land his takedown in the first round, I see Mark Hunt taking this by KO.
Yeah, I mean, not taking away anything from Brock Lesnar, and I'm probably not going to bet this fight, but if I had to bet it, I just would have to take Hunt either at -170 or probably, as you just said, by a knockout prop. And then, we have Cain Velasquez and Travis Browne, and Cain Velasquez is another guy who, his talent is not in question. The issue is just ring rust and, how injuries have defined his career. He's been out of the ring for about a year. How much do you think that is a factor here against Travis Browne?
I've had a year layoff also before in my career, but I was very active. I was still practicing and training every day, and ring rust wasn't really a factor for me. So I think it depends on each individual fighter. Cain has suffered injuries before and has taken long layoffs, but he's come back and he's looked good after those layoffs. So I don't think that ring rust is going to be a factor in this fight. I think Cain is the better overall fighter, especially with his wrestling pedigree that he has. So my money is on Velasquez.
All right, and then we have Miesha Tate, and of course in women's bantamweight we've seen 2 straight upsets, right? Holly Holm went down, Ronda Rousey went down, and both of them were big favorites, of course, at the time. Now here we have Miesha Tate as a big favorite. Nunes is a really strong fighter, really strong contender, but I wouldn't want to bet against Miesha because we've just seen her impress so much in the ring. She can even, like when she gets hurt, she can bounce back. She has great heart, great cardio, great everything. So I don't know. I couldn't bet against Miesha here. I'm not sure I'd want to bet her though as such a big favorite. What's your take on this fight? Do you think we're going to see another upset in women's bantamweight?
So this fight's interesting. I actually used to train with Amanda Nunes at MMA Masters down in Miami, Florida. So I know her very well. I know her style. I know she's very aggressive in the cage. Yeah. But one thing that happens with Amanda is if she doesn't take you out early, she kind of loses the fight mentally as the fight progresses. You saw that when she fought Kat Zingano. Kat Zingano kind of weathered the storm in the beginning there and came back and pretty much dominated the fight. So I think if Amanda doesn't finish this fight in the first round, I'm giving it to Miesha Tate by decision or submission.
Yeah, that's the big weakness with Amanda, and the question is, she's aware of it. The question is that something that's fixable? Is there any kind of training approach that she can do, or anything that she can do at all to fix that weakness, or is that a weakness that's basically going to be with her whole career?
Well, you could definitely try that, but Amanda is just she comes out very hard in that first round. So if she tries to pace herself a little bit, I think that would maybe help in the fight.
All right, so maybe she'll have a different game plan here that'll give her a better cardio and better endurance than we've seen in the past. Do you think that's a likelihood, or do you think that we're going to see the classic weakness from her once again show up and rear its head against Miesha?
This is a big fight. This is once-in-a-lifetime opportunity fighting for the title, so I think she's going to be smart about it and maybe try and pace herself in this one.
Yeah. All right, Ricardo Lamas, thanks so much for all your insights. Before we wrap it up, can we get one prediction for any fight on the main card? If you had to give one prediction that you think is your best prediction for the entire main card out of any fight, what would it be?
Mark Hunt by KO.
Mark Hunt by KO. That might be a good bet there, and he's -170 to win it, so by knockout, you'll be getting much better odds. Ricardo Lamas, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Always on the go? Bet365 has one of the top mobile platforms in today's market. Sign up today and don't let your busy life keep you out of the game.